Hello, welcome to Mysterious Divinos podcast. You know, when we think about the life of Jesus, we often jump right to his teachings, his miracles, or his ultimate sacrifice. But what if I told you there's another story woven through it all? A story of moments where the entire mission of salvation almost failed before it could even truly begin.
And that's really the heart of what we're looking at today. His life was just filled with these incredibly close calls, moments where powerful forces tried to cut his mission short. But time and time again, something or someone intervened. It reveals this incredible pattern of divine protection, even when it looked like all hope was lost. To really get this, we have to go all the way back. I mean, way back. Before the world was even formed, his purpose was sealed. His life wasn't an accident. It was preordained. And, well, that made him a target from the very moment he took his first breath on Earth. Now, this concept right here, this is the absolute key to understanding everything that comes next. Every threat, every conspiracy, every single moment of danger was ultimately powerless against a plan that was set in motion before time itself began. You could think of this divine purpose as a shield that just could not be broken. So let's start at the very beginning, in his earliest days. The opposition wasn't some vague, far-off threat waiting in the wings. Oh no, it was immediate, it was political, and it was absolutely deadly. The first major threat came from the very top, the highest seat of earthly power you could imagine. When King Herod heard these whispers of a new king of the Jews, his paranoia just ignited. He was terrified of losing his throne, and that fear drove him to an act of truly horrific cruelty. Can you imagine? This event, known as the Massacre of the Innocents, was a brutal, calculated attempt to extinguish the light before it could even shine. The story could have ended, tragically, right then and there. But Herod's earthly power was no match for a divine warning. An angel appears to Joseph in a dream, telling him, "Get up, flee to Egypt." And just like that, the first deadly plot was completely thwarted. So years later, after he begins his ministry, Jesus faces another attack. But this time it's on a much deeper spiritual level. The physical threat failed, right? So the enemy changes tactics, aiming for the very heart of the mission itself. Now, this wasn't just some philosophical debate. This was a direct assault on the entire plan of redemption. The enemy basically offered a shortcut: all the power without the cross, all the glory without the sacrifice. Any one of these temptations could have corrupted the mission from the inside out. But with each lie, Jesus just fires back with the absolute clarity of Scripture, using it as both his shield and his weapon. He proved right there in the desert that his divine purpose couldn't be broken by hunger or ambition or any promise of earthly power. But, it's interesting. The danger didn't only come from powerful kings or spiritual forces. Sometimes the most immediate, violent threat came from the very people he had come to save. People just blinded by their own anger and disbelief. And this next threat? Wow, this one was maybe the most personal. It came from his own hometown of Nazareth. After he taught in the synagogue and declared that the ancient prophecies were being fulfilled right there in front of them, the people who had watched him grow up, his neighbors, maybe even his friends, they just erupted in fury. I mean, in that moment, his death seemed absolutely certain, and at the hands of his own community. But then something incredible happened. With this almost supernatural calm, he simply walks right through the center of this furious mob, and not a single person could lay a hand on him. He just continued on his way. Because, once again, the message was loud and clear. His time had not yet come. And it didn't stop there. Another attempt happened during a really tense confrontation in the temple. Jesus was teaching about his relationship with the Father, and he makes this powerful declaration: "Before Abraham was, I am."
Now, to the religious leaders, this was the ultimate blasphemy. Their reaction was immediate. They picked up stones to execute him on the spot. His ministry was literally seconds away from a violent public end. But then, he was just gone. He seemed to vanish from their sight, slipping away from the temple completely unharmed. It was another stark reminder that no human plan could rush God's divine timetable.
So we've seen threats from rulers, from spiritual forces, from angry crowds. All of these were external threats. But maybe the most insidious danger of all came from a totally unexpected place, from inside his own inner circle, from the voice of a trusted friend.
So when Jesus tells his disciples for the very first time that his path leads to suffering and death, the reaction from his closest disciple, Peter, is immediate. He tries to stop him. And you can kind of understand why, right? He just wanted to protect his master, his friend. But in doing so, with the absolute best of intentions, Peter becomes an unwitting voice for the very same forces trying to stop the entire mission.
Jesus' reply is just shocking, and it is severe. He wasn't really rebuking his friend Peter. He was rebuking the idea behind the words. He recognized that the ultimate temptation wasn't power or glory, but this well-meaning plea to avoid the necessary sacrifice. Peter couldn't see it yet, but avoiding the cross wasn't victory. It was the ultimate failure. And Jesus knew he had to walk his path even if it broke his friends' hearts.
So what does this all mean? Why did all of these attempts fail? Well, when you look at all these episodes together, they reveal this incredibly clear and powerful pattern. Throughout his life, his mission faced constant attempts to stop it. But in every single situation, we see the protective hand of God.
I mean, just think about the pattern we've seen. The attacks came from every possible angle, from powerful rulers, from angry mobs, from spiritual temptation, and even from the love of a good friend. Yet every single time, the outcome was exactly the same. The mission was protected because a divine purpose simply cannot be broken.
And this is the crucial point. Every one of those miraculous escapes wasn't about avoiding death forever. It was about preserving him for the one designated moment of sacrifice. Every step he took was actually bringing him closer to the cross. And he walked that path knowing full well that his death wouldn't be the end, but the beginning of redemption for all of humanity. This prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane is the ultimate expression of his mission. In his moment of greatest human anguish, his commitment to the divine purpose never, ever wavered. It was the culmination of a life completely surrendered to a will greater than his own, no matter what the personal cost. So, the story of all these failed attempts leaves us with some really powerful lessons. It shows us that when we are aligned with a divine purpose, nothing can truly stand in our way. Opposition isn't a sign of failure. A lot of times, it's the very terrain where our faith is proven. And true victory, well, that isn't found in avoiding difficulty, but in walking the path God has set out for us. I really hope this exploration has given you something to think about. If you liked the video, subscribe, leave a like, comment on what you liked most, and share the video. We'd love to hear your biggest takeaway.
In every moment he was nearly eliminated, Jesus left us this powerful lesson of an unstoppable purpose in action. He showed us the greatness of his mission and the incredible power of God's will. And it leaves us with a final, profound question to consider in our own lives.